Hey everybody, Z Garcia here. Today I'm going to be covering these Investigator Starter Decks for Arkham Horror the card game. These are standalone products you can buy individually. We are going to, right now, take a look at Harvey Walters, who is the Seeker Investigator, who can grow to a massive hand size in the game and is going to have a lot of cards available to him. Let's take a look. Alright, so let's take a look at Harvey Walters here, the Professor. A lot of the things that Seekers are going to do is, of course, clue gathering. But Harvey Walters here has another thing he is extremely focused on, and that is drawing cards. Just having an enormous hand of cards. So we see here his stat line. Of course, he is terrible at combat, but very good at finding those clues. And he has an ability that says, after an investigator at your location draws one or more cards from their deck during the investigation phase, draw one. That investigator draws one more, basically. That's limit once per round. Of course, this counts for himself, okay? If he is alone, if you would draw any cards during your investigation phase, you get one more. And he's going to have all sorts of effects that are going to draw cards. Now, to be fair, drawing cards in this game is huge. And priced above getting resources, basically just about everything else. Drawing cards is one of the most important things you can do in this game. His Elder Sign ability, of course, if you hit on that, +1, draw a card. So very, very good. Now his deck building, just like all the other investigators in this cycle, is going to be quite straightforward. You can do Seeker cards up to level 5, neutral cards up to level 5. That's it. None of the other aspects or different skill cards, you know. You cannot put rogue cards in here, you cannot put mystic cards in here, just Seeker and neutral. So there you go. We're going to take a look at some of the cards in his deck now. We're going to look at his signature card, his signature weakness, a new basic weakness included, and then 5 cards that are in his deck. So let's begin here with Vault of Knowledge. This is a Harvey Walters deck only. He is required to put this card in his deck. Your maximum hand size is increased by 2. So that brings you up to above the 8 that you can normally keep. And then after you successfully investigate, you exhaust this and choose an investigator your location. That could be you again. Doesn't have to be though. And that investigator draws a card. So again, you're picking up on the theme here. It's all about that card draw. His signature weakness here, Thrice Damned Curiosity. Flaw: for every 3 cards in your hand, take 1 damage. Ouch. Pretty nasty, though I have to say his stats are pretty good. They're nice and even and pretty solid. If this hits you, and it obviously, I mean, when it hits you, when you have a lot of these cards in hand, this could add up. Considering you can have an increased hand size, you'll see later that you might have a bunch of cards in your hand that you would have to discard at the end of the turn. But when you draw this, you haven't done that yet. So pretty disgusting, possibly nasty. But then it does go away immediately. It's not something that's going to stick around. It's going to hit you for maybe 2, maybe 3, rarely 4, but it could happen. And then it'll go away. And then we've got this new basic weakness here, Revelation. Put it into play in your threat area. When your turn begins, discard 1 non-weakness card at random from your hand. And then, of course, 2 actions to discard Obsessive. This is one that I think you definitely want to get rid of quickly. In this deck, it's nasty because he wants to have large hand sizes for various cards and just to have access to them. In any deck that you are not drawing a lot of cards, this is going to really hinder you. So I feel like you're going to want to get rid of this one quickly. And I like it. Very simple. I like the simplicity, the straightforward nature of the card, and you can just, you know, suck it up, spend the 2 actions, and get rid of it. Okay, and then a few cards from his deck. We've got here Cryptic Writings. Gain 2 resources after you play Cryptic Writings during your... after you draw Cryptic Writings during your turn. Play it. That's pretty interesting. Gain 2 resources for free is worse than emergency cash. You're getting 3 for that one for free. The main difference here, of course, being that secondary ability. If you draw it during your turn, you get to play it for free. You get to just put this out, get the 2 resources, chuck the card. It is optional. You don't have to do it if you want to keep the card and keep the symbols, for example. But I like that if you gain it during your turn, you can just chuck it, get the 2 resources. Very interesting. Very simple, again. Here we've got Burning the Midnight Oil. It's an investigate event that is free. When this turn begins, or when this action begins, rather, you gain 2 resources. There is one of these cards for across the entire Investigator Starter Deck line here. They're usually tied to whatever that class wants to be doing, in this case, Investigate. And then when that action begins, you get the 2 resources. There's one for the Guardian that says Fight. When this action begins, gain 2 resources. I like these. They're very simple, straightforward, free, of course, and thematically tied to what is going on in the game. That, of course, showing Mr. Walters right there. We've got this card here, Seleno Fragments. I'm not sure how you pronounce that. A Book of Books. And this one, as you see, again, you want to have a whole lot of cards. While you have 5 or more, you get +1 to your book stat, right? If you have 10 or more cards in your hand, then you have +1 willpower. And 15 or more, then you get another one of those knowledge symbols as well. You need to discard down at the end of your turn unless you have cards that increase your hand size. So you need to be hitting these amounts, especially that last one, during your turn. That's going to be tricky. The first 2, though, yeah, you can normally hit those. So this is an interesting card. And again, it shows you what I'm talking about here about, drawing cards and drawing and drawing and drawing. You are burning through your deck a little bit faster, and you're going to take that sanity hit when you have to cycle your deck. And if you get this treachery hitting you while you're holding 15 cards, that's definitely going to hurt. But an interesting idea. And again, ties well to his deck. We've got here an ally. While you control a tome or relic asset, you get +1 to your knowledge there. And then after you reveal a location or put a new location into play, you exhaust her. You search the top 6 cards of your deck for a tome or a relic asset, and you draw it. Then you'll shuffle up your deck. I like this one. It's clean. It's straightforward. At 4, that's pretty decent. And then her stats are nice and balanced. You can put 1 sanity hit on her. You can put 1 health hit on her, and still keep her around. So pretty cool. And there's actually a souped up card of hers in the deck that you can deck build with that makes her even a little bit better. And then this insanity is the last one I'll show you. Cost of 12, an event for 12. But of course, the text says, reduce the cost to play this by 1 for each other card in your hand. And when you play, you discover 2 clues. Discovering 2 clues is a great ability already. You need to drop the price on this considerably for this to be worth it, of course. And it doesn't count itself. That card is now out, so every other card in your hand. So depending on when you have access to this, it'll be a great boon. It does feel a little interesting that this character can already do very well at clue finding. It shouldn't really be too much of a problem for Harvey Walters here to be passing those tests and getting clues. So if it drops tremendously, then yes, absolutely, you get 2 clues and you're on your way. Otherwise, if you're paying 5 for this, 6 for this, I'm just not going to do it. So there you go. Those are the cards in his deck. Now let's take a look at some of the deck building possibilities that are included in the pack that, again, take experience points to include in your deck. So here we've got Perception, 2 XP. Perception is a card that is included in the core box. It is a neutral card, a basic card. And now it's been leveled up. It's been given to the Seeker class here and leveled up a little bit. And there's 1 of each of these across the whole line of starter packs for each of these original sort of classic skill cards. So Perception has an extra symbol now. The text says max 1 per skill test. If it's successful, you draw a card. That's the same as the original text. But now 2 cards if you succeed by 2 or more. So you net an extra card by doing that. Very neat, simple idea, clever and straightforward. I like this line of cards. I think it's a cool idea. All right, some other stuff included here. Esoteric Atlas uses secrets, 4 of them. You spend a secret, you choose a reveal location up to 3 connections away, and you move to that location. Great if you are in an expansive map and you want to save some actions moving around. You can just jump somewhere else pretty far away with this card. I like it. I think it's a neat idea. We've got here Miskatonic Archaeology Funding. This is a permanent card, costs 4 XP, by the way. So, begins in play, limit 1 per deck. You have 2 additional ally slots, which can only be used to hold Miskatonic assets. So, just Miskatonic characters. Like, let me see, where is she? I believe the character we just looked at is a Miskatonic character. So this one right here, the one I just showed you, ally Miskatonic. So that would work for her. And so now she won't take up your ally slot, and you have in fact 2 more for Miskatonic characters. Forced, when you take damage or horror, no more than 1 of that damage or horror can be assigned to a Miskatonic asset. So not just dumping all of it onto these Miskatonic characters. I like the artwork in here as well. I like the vibe of the card. Ties well with the fact that he is a professor at Miskatonic University. Really neat stuff. We've got this ally, a little bit of a smaller ally. Miskatonic as well, by the way. After Library Dawson's here enters play, return a tome asset you control to your owner's hand. To your hand, basically. Play a different tome asset by title from your hand, reducing its cost by 2. Very situational, but if you've got something out that is nearing the end of its uses, or you've got something else that no longer is really helping you out, you can swap a roof for something else and get a discount on that. Mostly you'll be putting this out, maybe doing that, ideally doing that, and then chump blocking a little bit here. And then lastly, we've got here a heavy-hitting card, the Necronomicon, a different translation than a previous one we've seen as a signature weakness. A whole lot of symbols here down the side. And then it has 6 uses. There's a limit of 1 of these per deck. And you can use these as free triggers. So you can spend 1 secret and you get +2 skill value to a skill test. You can spend 2 secrets and draw 2 cards. You could spend 3 of them and discover a clue at any location, not your location, but any location. That's huge, because you can target something with a really nasty shroud. And then spend 4 secrets, deal 3 damage to an enemy engaged with you. Which is probably good in this deck, specifically, or if you're playing solitaire, but I don't think I'd be dumping 4 secrets to do that when 4 secrets can net me 4 cards. That's huge. So, interesting card. Very, very powerful. Very much late in a campaign or something like that. And then, of course, you still need to draw it and pay for it and all of that. Not a permanent card. Doesn't begin in play. But I do like it. So there you go. That is Harvey Walters. Now, where do I rank this character among the other ones? I do like Seeker cards, or Seeker class, normally. He is laser focused on drawing a whole bunch of cards, which normally is a good idea. I think in this case, he might overdo it. And I think a lot of the parts, a lot of the idea in this cycle of starter decks is for them to be starter decks. So I actually like him, out of all 5 included, I think I like him the least. Not that he's bad, I think all of these decks are good, and I would recommend any one of them if you really like this aspect of the game, going out there, drawing a lot of cards, finding those clues, advancing what's going on. If thematically you like this, absolutely you should pick this character up. Drawing cards is invaluable, like I said. I just think burning through your deck and getting a lot of cards and then having so many choices in your hand that you are not sure what to do, that it locks up your brain, I think works against what I think a starter deck for someone just beginning the game should do, or should be worried about. So that's why I rank him lower. Now, if you are just picking this deck up because you want this character, because you want the cards for deck building, then yes, he's great. He's going to give you a whole bunch of new options, and if you know the game well, then drawing a bunch of cards is going to allow you to get the cards you deck built with. It's going to allow you to do a whole lot of stuff. That's very cool. I think as a starter deck, for someone who is in fact starting the game, I don't think I would suggest this one right away. I like all of the other ones better in that situation. Still good, but would be my last pick for that specific scenario. All right, so there you go. That is Harvey Walters. Make sure you check out the rest of the videos where I cover all of these Investigator Starter decks. And I'm going to see you on the next one. Take care.